This Shabbat, I met a Sephardic rabbi and told him, Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi. And then I was thinking, this is not correct. According to Sephardic pronunciation, it's Ribi, not Rabbi. We're so accustomed that rabbi in Hebrew is Rabbi, and that's how it's always pronounced by most Ashkenazim, and that's how it is in Sidurim. The word, of course, Rabbi, is not fully a biblical word, but it's based on a biblical shoresh, biblical root. Rav means great. Sometimes it's quantitatively a lot of something, and sometimes it's in terms of the greatness of a person. A Rav, a great person. In fact, there's one verse in Parshat Mishpatim that says Al ta'alne al Riv, but the Chazal also darshan al Rav, a rabbi who is the leader, shouldn't be disputed in certain cases. So at any rate, the root itself is a biblical root, and of course, in the times of Chazal, in the times of our sages, the leaders were called rabbis. It could be that even earlier some leaders were called rabbis, but at the very least at the time of Second Temple and later the sages were called rabbis. So the question is, how do you pronounce Rav, Rabbi? Do you pronounce Rabbi or Rebi or Ribi? So, as I said, in most of the commonly accepted tradition, you call the person Rabbi. And that's how it is in most Ashkenazic Sidurim. Rabbi Ishmael Omer, Rabbi Natan Omer. There are a few chapters in the beginning of the prayers that quote, for instance, Rabbi Natan's opinion about how exactly Ketoret was made. The various nicely smelling substances that were grinded together and were brought in the temple. Rabbi Natan Omer, Rabbi Natan Abavli Omer. Rabbi Natan the Babylonian says. But what's interesting is I saw in Sidur Ezor Eliyahu, it's a Sidur, a prayer book that's based on Vilna Gaon's traditions. And they claim that the correct pronunciation is Ribi. They're not claiming necessarily that the Gaon held that way, but they bring it from various sources that Ribi is the correct pronunciation. And in all the Sephardic Sidurim, the pronunciation is Ribi. So I was thinking, when I said Shabbat Shalom Rabbi, I should have said Shabbat Shalom Ribi, according to the correct pronunciation of Sephardim, since this was a Sephardic rabbi. So this brought me to an interesting topic, I think, of how little we know about the correct pronunciations of the ancient times, because of course all the Talmud and most of our sources do not have vowels. And really the written Torah also doesn't have vowels, but there's a tradition called Misora, whereas the Talmud relatively recently was were the vowels actually put in. And many words, especially words that come from other languages, are possibly mispronounced. I have, for instance, a book that's written by a Yemenite rabbi, and he constantly emphasizes how they pronounce various words. And there are tons of words that we're so accustomed to pronounce a certain way that the Yemenites pronounce differently, totally different vowels. And in some cases, it's not just a question of pronunciation, but a question of meaning as well. In the case of Rabbi and Ribi, it really all means the same thing. It doesn't matter if it's pronounced Rabbi or Ribi. It's certainly, the name, the word means that this person is a rabbi. But, for example, a very well-known word, or really a phrase, that's used by Chazal for a bathroom, for a toilet. How do Chazal call toilet? Does anybody know? In modern Hebrew, it's not really used that much. But in the words of Chazal and in the books of rabbis, including Mishnah Brura, for instance, there are a lot of course, there's a lot of discussion, all kinds of laws that have to do with a person going to the bathroom. So the way it's called is Bet Ha-Kise, which one would translate a room with a kise would be like something to sit on. A throne is also called kise. It's a biblical word, but also a chair can be called kise. So it's a room with something that people sit on, which is of course how the Roman bathrooms were, and that's how in Israel the bathrooms were made. What they call asla, by the way. This word is used in modern Hebrew as well, but asla is mentioned in the Mishnah, and that's how the Romans and others made the bathrooms, exactly like we do today. Something that, I think they used to use leather for it. They spread the leather with a hole and the person sat on that. So that's Bet Ha-Kise. What's interesting is Yemenites pronounce it differently. They pronounce it Bet Ha-Kise, the place, the house of, or the room of covering, literally. It has nothing to do with kise, meaning the chair or the stool to sit on. No, it's a covering. What does have to do with covering? So I have two possibilities. Either they mean that it's a euphemism, that it's a place where you're forced to uncover yourself, so they call it the place of covering. Or the opposite, since a modest person, as the Talmud tells us, even in the bathroom, only uncovers the minimal amount, tries to keep himself covered even in the bathroom. So they're calling it Bet Ha-Kise, the place where a person tries to stay covered. And it's very possible that the bathrooms there, of course in Arab countries the bathrooms were made very differently in the ancient times. So it could be that that's how they understood Bet Ha-Kise, because there was no kise. They didn't have the types of bathrooms we have. So that's why they understood it as Bet Ha-Kise, the place of covering. And it's very possible that in the times of Chazal they actually meant it. I'm not claiming that our understanding is correct and Yemenite is wrong. But it's a completely different understanding of what the bathroom meant and why it was called that way. So it's just an interesting point for you to hear. And if you like this video, please press like and please subscribe to our channel.